Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the News First team. Let's start off tonight's news with a look at your top stories this evening.
Third phase construction of the Central Expressway commences under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Corrupt officials, the reason behind the abolishment of the Public Utilities Commission, Sri Lanka Electricians Association reveals. SENA caterpillar menace engulfs 6 provinces in the country. COVID-19 can be anywhere. Please follow health guidelines promptly. Health officials urge the general public. BJP leader Birendra Singh extends his support towards the Indian farmers' protests. India hit record low with 36 all-out against Australia.
In your top story tonight, the construction of the third phase of the Central Expressway from Pothuhera to Galagedera began today under the auspices of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The Central Expressway was planned to be constructed under 4 phases. The construction of the first phase of the project, which extends from Kadawatha to Meerigama, and the second phase from Meerigama to Kurunegala, are currently underway. The third phase that began construction today will span from Pothuhera to Galagedera, and the fourth and final phase will extend from Kurunegala to Dambulla. The construction of the third phase of a 31.7-kilometer stretch that began today is estimated to take 42 months to complete. This phase will be constructed at a cost of 142.5 billion rupees. This section of the expressway will consist of 20 bridges, a tunnel and 4 interchanges. I am mostly happy because Minister Johnston Fernando and his secretary have given prominence to this project, and instead of handing over the project to external companies, they are hoping to carry out this project under Maganaguma, which is under the Ministry of Highways. Generally, these projects were handed over to foreign contractors. The government is now ready to construct these highways ourselves. If we are to develop as a nation, we must first develop our infrastructure facilities. We are doing that now. The human-elephant conflict is a big issue in the Kurunegala district. The President has instructed us to prepare a special program to address this issue. We are not only hoping to complete the construction of the section of the highway from Meerigama to Kurunegala by the 31st of March, we also hope to construct the section from Kadawatha to Meerigama within 2.5 years and declare it open. News First continuously reported on the irreversible damage caused to crops in the country by the SENA caterpillar. Maize farmers have been left desolate after this pest infested their crops. The latest victim of the SENA caterpillar are the maize farmers in Palangoda. Initial reports on the SENA caterpillar menace surfaced from Ampara in the year 2018. The infestation then spread to the north, north-central, eastern, northwestern and Sabragamur provinces. It has now infested crops in Palangoda. Hundreds of acres of maize cultivations in Tanjatanna, Kaltokota, Diyavanna, Handagiriya, Kuragala and surrounding areas have been infested by the SENA caterpillar. Galgamua is now locked in a battle on 2 fronts, with the long-standing human-elephant conflict in the region on one side and the SENA caterpillar pest on the other. This is how maize cultivations in villages including Henvalagama, Makuliva, Nitavala and Nilakgama have been damaged by the SENA caterpillar.
SENA දලබුව මර්ධනය කරන්නත් මේ වැඩපිළිවෙලක් සකස් කරුවා හොඳයි. ඒ මහත්තයාට කතා කරා මේ වෙනකන් මේ ආයේ පැත්ත පළාතේ බලන්න ආවේ නැහැ. මේ 4-5 සැරයක් තෙල් ගහලා තමයි මේ ටික තියෙන්නේ. මම දෙයකට වෙනවා දැන්. ඉස්සර දෙපි බඩින් උරුට පමණයි. The indigenous community in Sri Lanka in Dambana and Henanigala have also been hit hard by the SENA caterpillar. The people have very little hope of reaping a substantial harvest this season. The only hope left for these farmers is that the newly introduced biochemical
would be effective against the SENA caterpillar.
ඒකනේ තිබ කාරම් දෙකක් තියලා තමයි මේ ඉරුම් අදාලා තියෙන්නේ මම මාත් මැරිලා උංගල් දුප්පත් කම තමයි සන්දානෙත් ලං විලා කෙරගන්න කිසිම ආදක් නැහැ මාත්‍යෝ මං ඉතින් ඇවිල්ලා සෝලෙන් ඉඳගෙන මේ අදාලා තියෙන්නේ ඔක්කොම පාරලෝ කාලා තමයි විනාශ කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
More news from here at home. The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka has an immense impact on the general public of the country. This is the institution that places controls on utility prices, including the prices of power supply. The PUCSL is also instrumental in curbing wastage of millions of rupees of public funds. The Commission recently came to the limelight when the Secretary to the President wrote to the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance to close down the Public Utilities Commission. The Sri Lanka Electricians Association today revealed the forces that are influencing the authorities to do away with the Public Utilities Commission. The Secretary to the President has asked for the Public Utilities Commission to be done away with. An MP in this parliament considers this secretary as the murderer of our economy. Today he has crippled the Public Utilities Commission. Does this secretary have a right to do this? Does the minister in charge of this subject know about this? There is a mafia within the Ceylon Electricity Board. The CEB Engineers Association is a part of this. These people are engaged in a coordinated effort to cripple this system. We had received information on how much money the PUCSL had saved during the past 5 years. You all know about the infamous ship from Turkey. At the time, these engineers said that will not have power during the Vesak season last year. Now we would like to ask them, did we have a power outage during that time? Because the PUCSL intervened, they managed to save 300 billion rupees from the Turkey ship issue alone. The PUCSL had halted illegal purchase of 1,650 megawatts of emergency power. But have we lost power? During the last year alone, the PUCSL had saved 400 billion rupees. The members of the commission had resigned. So next, we need to look into who is being appointed to these positions. Do not try to appoint people who are involved in the power mafia of this country to these top posts. Appoint people who can protect the independence of this commission. I don't think that the former members of this commission were bad people. They resigned from their positions as they were forced to do so.
The Sri Lanka Electricians Association further clarified details of the power mafia in the country.
They are trying to remove the PUCSL to take control of the utility prices. The PUCSL did not allow the prices of power to be increased from 2015. Now the prices can be varied in any way. What are the reasons for these losses? We have already paid over 3 times the value of the power plants in Ambilipitia. There was a decision reached by the cabinet for the government to take over this power plant. No one speaks of that yet. These officials here are the ones who are at fault. The wrongdoers are not punished. Why aren't they punished?
Meanwhile, the Public Utilities Commission Employees Union denied the allegation made by certain parties that the PUCSL has delayed the implementation of power generation plants in the country. A statement released by the union said the allegation is baseless and completely false. The union states the Commission has given its fullest cooperation and approval to the Ceylon Electricity Board for implementing the least cost long-term generation plans. It adds that the Ceylon Electricity Board has sought the approval from the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka for 3 major power plants with the capacity of 300 megawatts during the period 2016-2020 under the least cost long-term project. The union added that although approval had been granted for these projects that would largely benefit the general public, the Ceylon Electricity Board had delayed these projects for many years.
Accusations have been leveled against the government for allowing the Indian Adani Group to invest in the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port. Journalists questioned the subject minister regarding this matter today. Regarding the East Container Terminal, we hope to retain full ownership of it and get an investment of $700 million for the development of the terminal, and we retain 51% of the ownership. After 35 years, the full ownership of the terminal will revert to us. So we will be protecting this JCT. We have also planned to develop the West Terminal. We cannot saddle the country with more debt. 25% of the port is debt. We are not going to take a single cent in loans. We will do this completely with investors.
Meanwhile, State Minister Vidura Wickramanayake was also questioned on this matter.
I believe that as a party that is transparent, no one need to do anything in secret. Everything must be done openly. It is only when these things are done in secret that the people are suspicious about them. We must not create such suspicion among the public because we are popular among the people. Our popularity is, however, reducing now because of certain issues. We accept that. If these issues continue, there is a possibility that the people might distance themselves from us. I told you what happens usually. I can't say as to if there is something like that happening here. Our national assets cannot be sold to foreign countries or companies. The simplest answer they give us is that we don't have money, and that's why they speak to foreign companies. Foreign companies can invest, but we cannot give them ownership.
Why is the East Container Terminal being given to a foreign company while a local company has expressed its willingness to invest $1 billion in the Port City project? Various parties expressed their views regarding this today as well.
Now there are talks of having a local investor to develop the port city of Colombo. Before the government gives the port city to a local investor, we would like to tell them to let a local company invest in the East Container Terminal instead of giving it to an Indian company. This is a very bad situation.
කතාවෙන්නේ කොහොමදත් දේශීය ආයෝජකෙක් දැනට ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා නැහැ. දැන් ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තියෙන ඉන්දියාවේ ආයෝජකෙක් නමුත් අවසාන තීන්දුවක් තවම අරගෙන නැහැ.
Why are they trying to hand over the East Container Terminal of the Colombo port, which was built by Sri Lanka, to a foreign company? Why are they not trying to reap the benefits from it? That is where the problem arises. Regardless of the decisions taken by the previous governments, we as the Samagya Janabalawegya are against this. What we say is that we need to protect the port because that is of utmost importance to the economy of the country.
As you can see, protests have been carried out all across India for weeks now. Who are they protesting against? They are protesting against the Adani group of companies. What kind of an investment are they looking at? $500 million US.
යකෝ ඩොලර් මිලියන 500ක් කියන්නේ සල්ලිදද? ලංකාවේ ඕගොල්ලෝ මේක ඇඩ්වර්ටයිස් කරන්නකෝ 100ට.
Why don't you advertise and look for investors here in Sri Lanka? More than 50 Sri Lankan companies will be willing to invest their money. A particular company has invested $1 billion US in the port city. Honorable Minister Rohita, isn't that company a Sri Lankan company? Some companies can invest that much money here in Sri Lanka. You can get 3 investors within the country and form a consortium there. But sadly, what you are trying to do is sell the entire country. That is what you are doing right now. Nothing else.
එහෙමනම් තමුන් නාන්සලාගේ ඔළුවේ තියෙන්නේ රටම විකුණන්න. ඒක තමයි තමුන් නාන්සලා කරන්නේ. වෙන මොකුත් නෙවෙයි.
In some news from neighbouring India, Bharatiya Janata Party leader Birendra Singh has extended his support to the farmers' agitation as they entered the 24th day of protest today.
Birendra Singh said he was keen to go to the borders of Delhi, where the protests have entered the 24th day, at Sampla in Jaggar district of Haryana. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi defended the laws and invited the protesting farmers for more talks, despite several negotiations failing to break the standoff. After a series of previous meetings with Modi's ministers, the protesters have said that nothing short of an official annulment of the 3 laws will be enough to change their position. Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, who has been leading the government's talks with the farmers' unions, referred to the call for boycott of Indian products some unions had called for, the boycott of products of the Ambani and Adani groups, and said, quote, at a time the country is moving forward with its resolve of Atmanirbhar Bharat and vocal is going local, the intention of these people who have called for the boycott of India's products must be identified, unquote. The most widespread protests took place in Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh. But demonstrations were also reported in Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Kerala and other states. Railway services have remained suspended in Punjab for more than 2 months due to the ongoing protests. Following this, farmers from different states then marched to Delhi to protest against the laws. The Director General of Police in the northern Haryana state, speaking to foreign media yesterday, said at least 25 farmers have died since the 26th of last month. There have been about 25 deaths so far, one of them being death by suicide 2 days ago. 14 deaths were due to natural causes, mostly heart attacks and cold. The police officer said at least 10 people died in separate road accidents as they travelled from Punjab and Delhi states to participate in the protests.
Main sponsor.
Legends 966 this season. A collection of the most memorable songs, Christmas hits and family favorites 24/7. Tune in now.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Is Sri Lanka caught in a debt trap? The discourse on this matter continues to widen with each passing day. Information coming to light that the nation is unable to service its current debt obligations has compounded Sri Lanka's economy-related woes. Despite the flack it has drawn for poor debt management, the government remains defiant in its ability of managing the current crisis. But what really is the reality behind this?
According to the central bank, $6 billion are required over the next 12 months. Let us assume we have liquid funds worth $3.5 billion at the end of this year. Let us also take into account the forward bookings. In that case, we will have $4.5 billion in hand. The next issue is how the other reserves can be collected. Nowhere in recent history has a country with a CCC rating obtained a loan from the international market. Why? Because loans will not be provided. Such is the severity of this crisis. If we use the current reserves to service debts, we will be downgraded once more and we will default on our payments. The government wants us not to panic and that it will pay off the debt. It has not implemented a process that we can rely on. The net increase in the number of loans obtained by the government over the past 8 months is 1,300 billion rupees. We have a responsibility to point out the reality. Our view is the government should begin negotiations with the international community. It has to request for a debt deferment. This is not an issue where they can pose a mirage and solve by manipulating statistics.
According to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, outstanding central government debt increased to 14.47 trillion rupees by the end of September 2020 from 13.03 trillion rupees as at the end of 2019, while Sri Lanka's government debt to GDP ratio increased to 86.8% at the end of 2019 from 83.7% at the end of 2018. Total outstanding domestic debt increased by 19.8% to rupees 7.940 trillion, and the rupee value of the total outstanding foreign debt increased by 2% to rupees 6.5 trillion by the end of September 2020. Moody's Investors Service, Goldman Sachs, Fitch Ratings and Standard & Poor's have downgraded Sri Lanka's sovereign rating within a span of 9 months over elevated debt repayment risks. The government has dismissed all rating downgrades, claiming them to be flawed and premature. City Research, in its recent report titled, quote, Sri Lanka Economics and Strategy, Denial is not a strategy assessing debt restructuring scenarios, pointed out that the government's very piecemeal approach in settling maturing ISBs is unlikely to restore investor confidence.
We have no issues in repaying debt. We have prepared all the money that we need. Although the opposition and various other factions speak out against us, they too know that we can make this payment. First, they said the repayment will be an issue in 2021. Now they have postponed that a little bit and said that this issue will come up in 2022. They are trying to create instability in the country by saying these things. I would like to clearly say that nothing of that sort will happen. A portion of the loan installments will be settled through investments and the other portion through remittances. We have already made plans to improve the gem industry in the country and increase our revenue in this industry. We will be able to settle our foreign debt installments.
වෙනවා මේ ණයවාරික පිටරට මුදල් වලින් ගෙවන්න මුළු ලෝකයේම ආර්ථිකයන්
The economy of the entire world has collapsed. We must be realistic. We have a target of 16 billion rupees in income, and even that is on the assumption that the COVID-19 virus will end soon. We have started projects that are worth about 30 billion rupees. We will find the necessary funds for it from somewhere. We can get the money from long-term loans. Currently, a program as such is in place.
පුළුවන්. ඉතින් එහෙම වැඩසටහනක ඉන්නේ.
The deadline for the completion of the much-delayed Grand Hyatt Hotel project, accused of causing massive losses to the government, has been extended until the year 2022. The Grand Hyatt Hotel project that would see the construction of a 475-roomed hotel with 90 apartments along Gold Road in Colombo 3 was initially due to be completed in 2 years since construction began on the 19th of July 2012. According to a directive signed by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa as Finance Minister, the deadline has been extended for the third time until the 19th of December 2022. Earlier this month, the government announced that the cost of the project had increased from 30 billion to 60 billion rupees due to the delays in carrying out the project. The government added that a committee would be appointed to investigate the losses caused to the government due to the slow progress. According to a government announcement, SENA Lanka Private Limited, that is carrying out the project, had terminated many agreements without any justifiable reason. The statement read, quote, "Some companies have initiated legal proceedings, and it was decided that SENA Lanka Private Limited shall pay approximately a sum of 1.8 billion rupees as compensation," unquote. In some COVID-19 related news, tonight rapid antigen tests were conducted on those who exited the Western Province today as well.
Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana stated that this step was taken to control the spread of COVID-19 outside the Western Province. Accordingly, testing will be carried out in Kochikade on the Colombo Chilau Main Road, Nittambu on the Colombo Kandy Main Road, in Kosgama Hall on the Colombo Ratnapura Main Road, and Beruwala on the Colombo Mathura Main Road. Yesterday, 451 rapid antigen tests were conducted and 5 COVID-19 cases were identified. Rapid antigen tests were conducted on those who leave the Western Province in Nittambu on the Colombo Kandy Main Road. According to our correspondent, tests were mainly conducted on passengers commuting in long-distance buses. Upon identifying one positive case through rapid antigen tests conducted in these areas, the patient was taken for treatment by the health authorities. Meanwhile, rapid antigen tests were carried out today in Kochikade on the Colombo Chilau Main Road. Our correspondent reported that rapid antigen tests were conducted on mostly passengers on long-distance buses.
These antigen tests are not being conducted because of personal quarrels or resentments. These are being done to control this disease from spreading to other areas. Rapid antigen testing is being carried out regularly today and every 2 weeks at exiting areas of the Western Province. The cooperation of the public is needed for this. If a rapid antigen test reveals an infection, the person is immediately referred to a treatment center. Moreover, steps will be taken to direct his or her close contacts to quarantine centers. So adhere to these measures and cooperate.
කටයුතු කරනු ලබනවා. ඒ නිසා මේ සඳහා අනුගතව කටයුතු කරන්න සහයෝගය ලබා දෙන්න.
Only within yesterday, 451 rapid antigen tests were carried out and 5 turned out to be positive. So approximately 1% was positive for the virus. It was not these 451 people who went out of the Western Province. More than 25,000 people exit the Western Province using public transport on a daily basis. So now you will have an idea as to if 10,000 people are tested, how many will be positive. Nearly 100 people will test positive. This number is of utmost importance because one such positive person can spread the virus to an entire area. Against the present backdrop, we would like to urge the authorities to increase the number of these random rapid antigen testing. We have to review the data we receive and predict how much of a threat is going out of the Western province.
Specialist Dr. Hemanta Herath said that besides the Western province, COVID-19 subclusters are being created in all other provinces in the island.
Although the Western province is a high-risk zone, subclusters are being created in all other areas of the country. These subclusters are discovered when we test people in other areas. Many possible patients would not have been tested and would have left the Western province. Under the prevailing circumstance, we cannot specifically say that the virus is only prevalent in these districts. So, since this virus can spread all across Sri Lanka, we recommend that health guidelines be followed 100%. If not, we cannot prevent clusters being formed in areas across the island.
495 COVID-19 patients have been identified as of now, raising the total number of COVID-19 cases in the country to 36,544. 491 COVID-19 patients recovered today, and the total recoveries in the country stands at 27,552. 8,827 patients are currently receiving treatment for COVID-19. Now, the Government Information Department today confirmed that 6 more COVID-19 related deaths have been reported in Sri Lanka. This raised the COVID-19 death toll in the country to 171. Human lives can be lost in the blink of an eye due to an unforeseen tragedy. We now direct your attention to one such incident.
The incident took place in Gaminipura, Kataragama this morning. The 70-year-old man lost his life in a tragic manner when a gate came off its railings and collapsed onto him.
The 95th commissioning parade of the Sri Lanka Military Academy was held at the Diyatalava Army Camp today. Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne, was the chief guest of the event. The commissioning parade was also attended by Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva.
I profoundly consider the military service as the most noble profession in the whole world. All commanders should first become good leaders who will understand the heartbeat of the soldiers under his command. We do not need machines to command them. You are not given with the power of attorney to use them as expendable items. As the military leaders are expected to perform in all spheres possible as of today, we want you to lead your men and women to safeguard our people from any threat, whether it is man-made or natural disasters or calamities.
187 officer cadets, including 1 Maldivian officer cadet, 2 Zimbabwean officer cadets, and 17 lady officer cadets from 3 intakes received their commissions today. In some news from the cricket world, Australia managed to win the first test against India by 8 wickets today. That's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the News First team with our sign language interpreter for tonight, Tarka Gabriel, joining us via Zoom. Take care and God bless.